It's still morning, we should be very fresh. More 12 minutes until the morning is done. At least this is how we were educated until 12 o'clock it's morning, after that it's the afternoon, and after 5 o'clock in the afternoon start the evening. So, welcome to the last panel of the day and of the Seesof 2025. I'm pretty sure it will be a very interesting one. The panel is dedicated to resilience, which has our attention not only as military, you will see even for the civilians. And the panel was established just because, as we mentioned in the opening remarks, we are thinking to the Special Operation Forces and not only to the Romanian Armed Forces in a comprehensive approach. So, I don't want to bore you, so I will pass the microphone to our moderator, Colonel Retired Daniel Vasile.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, good morning as well from my side. I'm Colonel Retired Daniel Vasile from the Euro-Atlantic Resilience Center, and it's my pleasure to moderate the following panel called Resilience to Regional Cooperation, a team sport with national and multinational relevance. In terms of background, I served for 20 years in the Romanian Armed Forces, some with Special Operation Forces. I've spent another 8 years deeply involved in changing the Romanian internal affairs, current and future operations doctrine. Now I'm an advisor for the president of the EARC with 3 years of continuous involvement in the center's projects, especially in its relationship with NATO. So it is my great pleasure to welcome you to this roundtable on regional resilience. We are honored to host this dialogue as part of the Seesof Forum, and we do thank the organizers for hosting us. We find ourselves in a truly unique context. On one hand, Special Operations Forces from this part of the world, increasing their regional cooperation and common capabilities for their own core missions, and us, active and former military, accompanied by senior civilian experts and professors, talking about self-mil cooperation and how to properly build up regional resilience as well. Now allow me to briefly present our panel participants. I will start with our keynote speaker of the panel, Ambassador Lucian Fătu, the president of Euro-Atlantic Resilience Center. Next slide, please. Thank you. He's a career diplomat with an impressive background, having served 4 times as ambassador in Lithuania, Finland, Hellenic Republic, and the Kingdom of the Netherlands. In these capacities, he was involved in the early stages of Romania's integration to EU and the roadmap to the Partnership for Peace program, an important step to NATO membership. Next speaker, Lieutenant General Iulian Berdilă is the Deputy Chief of Defense for Operations and Training, Romanian Defense Staff. He is a well-decorated flag officer with multiple staff and command assignments at all land forces levels. He's been deployed abroad to staff and command positions in Iraq and Afghanistan. LTG Berdilă holds 2 masters in military arts and science and strategic studies, both graduated in the US. Next, Air Flotilla General Retired Adrian Duță is a senior advisor for defense and security, sitting on a deal advisory team at KPMG Romania. We are proud to have him as an associated expert to the Euro-Atlantic Resilience Center. Formerly, General Duță held the position of the Vice President of EARC between March 2022 and April 2024. General Duță is active in the academic community as visiting lecturer at the Romanian National Defense University, European Security and Defense College, and the George Marshall European Center for Security Studies. Next, Mr. Rufin Zamfir is a senior expert on asymmetric threats, conducting and coordinating research on foreign information manipulation and interference and the role of far-right and undermining democracy. He is also a former IARC colleague of us with huge experience in regional resilience in the Eastern Partnership and the Western Balkans. Next is Professor Nicolae Sărin Dragan. He's a senior expert on Stratcom, working here at this university as an associate professor teaching intercultural communication, history of communication, strategic communication, and interpersonal and group communication. Moreover, Professor Dragan has been working for over 25 years as a communication and public relations advisor within the Romanian Ministry of Defense, for which he provides specialized consultancy at the highest level. Last but not least, Professor Răzvan Buzatu is an expert in state building, nation building, and institutional development. He had short-term and medium-term missions and projects in 70 states in the past 25 years in the public, private, and associative sectors. He worked in leadership positions in the private sector with the international missions, where he's been deployed as NATO trainer for the government of Afghanistan and Iraq. He teaches at the NATO school in Germany, at a NATO college in Rome, at the National Defense College in Romania, and the postgraduate course of International Economic Intelligence within the Academy of Economic Studies of Bucharest. That's a lot. And without further ado, I'll pass the floor to Ambassador Fătu. Sir, please, the floor is yours.
Colonel, good morning, everyone. It's my honor to be here with you, and before my remarks, I would like to share with you some news as I was listening to the inspirational panel before me. I read that yesterday the European Commission announced that the member states can repurpose up to 335 billion out of the resilience and recovery facility for eligible defense projects. So that highlights the contribution of the European Union and the understanding of the need to enhance our defense capabilities, also in the effort to prepare society for activities in defense, as well as the NATO capabilities, of which obviously you know much more than I do. But coming to the topic of our presence here, I'm honored to address this first edition of our Special Operation Forces Forum. And this year's event confirms our commitment as a nexus in the Southeastern European region. I thank the University of Medicine, Pharmacy, Science and Technology, an institution with an outstanding history and great prestige, for hosting us today. On a personal note, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be part of this very important event for the SOF community. I was honored to receive the invitation from the Romanian SOCOM commander, Major General Claudiu Dobocan. Thank you very much, sir. And started planning this panel together with my colleague from the Euro-Atlantic Resilience Center, Special Operations, Colonel retired Daniel Vasile. Today, we will discuss resilience through regional cooperation and team sport with national and multinational relevance. From the outset, I would like to tell you that I'm here to share with you and to learn from you, which I have already extensively done. But first of all, let me introduce you to the Euro-Atlantic Center for Resilience. It was established in May 2021 as an interinstitutional research and analysis body. We are partners of NATO and EU, acting for the benefit of these organizations, their members and their partner states, serving as a hub of expertise in the field of resilience. The center carries out its activity in synergy with the objectives of EU and NATO, without being directly subordinated to either organization. This allows us to also provide expertise to countries in the EU and NATO neighborhood, primarily Republic of Moldova, Ukraine, but also Western Balkans and South Caucasus. Our mission is to develop concepts, doctrines, and methodologies in the field of resilience, to provide training courses and to offer a platform for the transfer of expertise between government institutions, the private sector, civil society, and academia. Let me spell out what I implied a while ago. We do not lecture, we do not preach resilience, we do not offer a panacea. We respond to the specific priorities identified by our partners who approach us. At the same time, we do not cruise a one-way street. We learn constantly resilience lessons from the individual organizations and societies who have experienced, dealt with, and overcame or are in the process of overcoming covert or hybrid challenges. Our center has concluded numerous projects with European funding designed to bolster resilience to disinformation and hybrid threats and to standardize certain analytical tools across government institutions, increasing interoperability and decreasing response times, thus strengthening resilience. We have actively contributed to strengthening national resilience through strategic partnerships and crisis preparedness activities. We conducted several key exercises to enhance resilience and preparedness in critical sectors. I would just like to briefly mention the Resilience Dome 2025 Artificial Intelligence Challenge. This was the third edition of the Resilience Dome simulation exercise, where we focused on challenges posed by artificial intelligence in the context of hybrid threats. The tabletop exercise in energy sector, together with the Romanian Ministry of Energy and the Department for Emergency Situations, we organized the first tabletop exercise aimed at testing contingency plans for crisis situations in the energy sector. War games with a societal focus, in collaboration with the Hybrid Center of Excellence in Helsinki. We facilitated war games involving key government agencies and sectors as finance, media, agriculture. Additionally, through the Lessons Learned course developed with NATO Joint Analysis and Lessons Learned Center, JALLC, we provided a structured platform for our national institutions to share expertise and best practices. Our guide for crisis situations offers practical advice to individuals and communities to effectively respond to various emergencies, including natural disasters, technological failures, and conflicts. It emphasizes preparedness, self-reliance, and community solidarity. For example, the guide outlines steps to create a 72-hour survival kit, establish communication plans, and stay informed through reliable sources. It also provides guidance on maintaining mental resilience and supporting vulnerable groups during emergencies. The Enhanced Analytic Resilience Index is a strategic assessment report designed by our center to evaluate and compare national resilience capabilities. Another important contribution of our center was a training session on the resilience of critical infrastructure within the framework of the Kyiv International Cyber Resilience Forum last March. Recently, our expert participation in the NATO exercise Steadfast Deterrence 25 in Stavanger, Norway, lasting 3 weeks, ensured the integration of our center's facilities into the Allied strategic planning process, demonstrating the center's ability to actively contribute to collective security and defense efforts. But one of the most consequential training programs, maybe the flagship project of our center, is the organization in partnership with NATO international staff of the NATO Resilience Course for Civil Experts, the only training format in this field at the Allied level. The course aims to increase the level of understanding of the concept of resilience and to prepare civilian experts for participation in national resilience assessment missions as members of NATO resilience advisory support teams. Realizing the significance of resilience as a cross-section element in public policies, we established a resilience committee at state secretary level which is convened under the auspices of the Prime Minister, Chancellery, and receives strategic reports from our experts and exchange views on sectorial priorities. From our experience, we abide in this project by 3 no's that make a fresh structure viable. No new budget line, no additional personnel, and no new required legislation. If these conditions were met, this committee took off. Dear participants, going back to today's topic, resilience has been defined in many ways. In a narrow sense, resilience is the ability of an individual or a community, be it a nation, region, or even an alliance, to cope with many forms of stress and shock that may appear while continuing to perform its essential functions. As such, it is one of the key concepts in any effort of thinking about modern society and its future. As crises of different types, duration, and complexity make their presence felt, sometimes in rapid succession, it is of paramount importance to learn to adapt quickly and to strive to transform a shock into an opportunity for improvement. Regardless of the field in which it is applied, resilience is associated with systems that exhibit 4 consistent features: the existence of vulnerability, the presence of external factors, e.g. threats, that may disrupt normal functioning, the capacity to maintain core functions during crisis, and the ability to adapt to new conditions and to return to a state of normality. Can we define, discuss, and plan resilience as an instrument in a nation's toolbox? Can we gradually build it based on a framework of regional cooperation? These are questions that we try to answer to in a synergy between civilian and military factor. Being adequately prepared for major threats requires working according to a whole-of-government and whole-of-society approach. These frequently repeated terms mean, in practice, the ability to develop and use in a concerted and coordinated fashion all the necessary tools and resources across different policy areas while engaging the private sector, civil society organizations, and citizens. But still, preparedness for today's and tomorrow's threats cannot be built in silos, country by country, or separately in different sectors of government. Going further, how can we deal with certain crises in a smarter, more cooperative manner, making use of resources that are available at a regional level? It is my honor to address these issues, and I'm looking very much forward to the next panel, where you will hear discussions and maybe debate on resilience. And I encourage you to step in during the following session of interacting with my partners. I thank you once again for inviting me here, and now I'll pass the floor to Daniel, who will moderate this panel.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm just going to kindly ask the speakers for the panel to step up here. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here, first of all, once again. I'm just going to have to recognize once again what resilience is, that the ability of an individual or a community to cope with many forms of stress and shocks that may appear. So in a nutshell, today's discussions aim to identify and advance possible solutions to improve civil cooperation both nationally and regionally, contribute to increasing the level of knowledge, understanding, and visibility of the resilience concept, including institutional, societal resilience, resilience to FIMI, foreign information manipulation and interference, in order to ensure the necessary political support for meaningful regional and international cooperation in this field. While resilience is a national commitment, we shall discuss how Romania can better cooperate with NATO and the EU to ensure regional resilience in the Central and Eastern Europe, and how the emergence of Black Sea strategies from EU, NATO, and member states can establish the long-term foundation of regional resilience development. Without further ado, we will start with General Berdila, sir, talking about contingency planning. Should it cover a more flexible civil-military cooperation and approach when it comes to integrate public and private sector representatives into certain points of actionable plans, as let's say whole of society approach in resilience domain, but not only? Can this approach be applied to regional cooperation, if applicable, of course?
Thank you. Thank you so much for also choosing the topic, especially after the panel with Women in Command, Women in Combat. Now I realize why we have to talk about resilience. They have it, we need to describe it. Almost wanted to start with the music of O Sole Mio after that first panel, but that's okay. First, to salute the presence here. You can see the last panel. Resilience, that's probably, for us, a number of empty places, but this is to be pointed out. I'm glad I have the distinguished panelists with me to address this actively. I heard this expression of food for thought. I think we're at the moment of food for act in many domains and sectors, and this is one of them. As was described in the introduction by His Excellency, resilience is not still young anymore. Different agencies, NATO, EU, different allies and partners address it. They build a lot of strategies with a lot of ends, but when you get to the means and ways, very few address it. So to open that, I'll just point one thing. I think strongly believe inside the National Defense Staff with the reviews that we have now, the last 10 years of strategic military context will not be, in many terms, the next 10 years. At the same time, in consequence, resilience will have to cope with new challenges, especially for us and especially for the Black Sea region. One. Two, many strategies referring to the Black Sea strategy, and I think a lot of these tools are pointing out to the critical developments of what we put together as solutions. To this point, we talk a little bit personally. I think the EARC can be one innovating center, not just for research, but be for the wargaming, a national wargaming center for crisis management and prevention. A lot of scenarios, a lot of the black swans are becoming white swans. If you recall, 10 years ago, we were talking about some of the threats in the Black Sea. Well, now they're white. All these scenarios requiring solutions, and I think with the competencies, the experts, the expertise they have now, the linkages toward NATO, the EARC can be that national wargaming center to produce classified solutions in some terms, but to be the first advisor to the national security architecture in building solutions, not just thought. I'll close of pointing out special operations, the environment where we are today. They're one good example in peacetime, crisis, or wartime of intra-resilient and nationally resilient set of capabilities. So these guys are not just mature for crisis and conflict, but they can absorb adaptation and transformation because they're designed to do that. And I'm glad to see today, with the first edition of the forum, they make a proof that they can galvanize agents from industry, academia, universities, and also the force structures and other allies and partners to discuss very important topics. I'll stop here because I hope there's a dialogue. Please don't ask me about the questions of women in command. I have so many answers that I want to support and salute for the first panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Before passing the floor to the next presenter and speaker, I just have to underline that the regional cooperation in the resilience domain, it's not covered in the NATO from the NATO perspective, but the EU. So for that, I'm just gonna ask General Duca, do you believe that we need an EU directive for clarifying regional cooperation while enhancing the national resilience? Sir, please.
Thank Thank you very much for the question, Daniel. I'm happy to be here today and happy to hear Ambassador Fotu talking about the projects in a few projects from EARC. There are many others, I can assure you, and I'm happy to say that I was member of the team that started to work on this important project. Now, to come up to the question, to quote NATO Secretary General, we are not at war, certainly, but we are not at peace either. The topic of enhancing resilience through regional cooperation is of greatest importance in today's interconnected world. The shifting dynamics of global geopolitics are urging the regional actors to enhance cooperation and self-reliance in the face of increasing global uncertainties. The shifting dynamics and countless of challenges and threats from natural disasters to pandemics to cyber attacks and even the warfare, the need for strong collaboration and coordination at the regional level has never been more pressing. In this context, the question of whether an EU directive is needed to clarify regional cooperation while enhancing national resilience warrants careful consideration. An EU directive focused on regional cooperation could serve as a catalyst for aligning national resilience strategy, fostering collaboration, and fortifying security across the region. By working together, countries can pool resources, share experience, and coordinate responses more effectively. This is particularly relevant when it comes to building resilience against common threats, enhancing cooperation in areas like supply chain resilience, digital transformation, and sustainable development, to name only a few. Regional cooperation allows for a more comprehensive and holistic approach to resilience building, considering the interconnected nature of risks and vulnerabilities. The European Union already took some significant steps in promoting regional cooperation for resilience through relevant directives, such as Civil Protection Mechanism, adopted in 2013, and the Directive on Critical Infrastructure Protection Directive adopted in 2008, followed by the Critical Entities Resilience Directive, adopted in 2022. These directives provide a legal framework for enhancing cooperation among member states in preparing for and responding to disasters and critical incidents. They emphasize the importance of coordination, collaboration, and mutual assistance in building resilience at regional level. Moreover, the EU and NATO structured dialogue on resilience serves as a platform for promoting cooperation and coordination between the European Union and NATO in enhancing resilience against common security challenges. This dialogue allows for the exchange of best practices, information sharing, and joint exercises to strengthen the collective resilience of both organizations and their member states. By leveraging the expertise and resources of both the NATO and EU, the structured dialogue on resilience contributes to a more robust and interconnected approach to resilience building at the regional level. While the existing EU directives and EU-NATO structured dialogue on resilience lay a solid foundation for regional cooperation in enhancing resilience, the question remains as to whether a specific directive is necessary to further clarify and strengthen this cooperation. A new directive could provide additional guidance and support for member states in implementing best practices and coordinating their efforts more effectively and in the face of emerging and evolving threats. One of the key benefits of the EU directive on regional cooperation for resilience is the harmonization of practices and standards across member states. This can help ensure consistency and coherence in how countries approach resilience building in the regional level, facilitating smoother collaboration and coordination in times of crisis. A directive could also outline specific areas where regional cooperation is most needed, such as information sharing, joint exercises and simulations, or capacity building initiatives. However, It is essential to strike a balance between centralization and flexibility when considering the need for an EU directive on regional cooperation for resilience. Member states must retain a degree of autonomy and flexibility in how they approach regional cooperation, taking into account the unique circumstances and priorities. A directive should aim to provide guidance and support rather than impose rigid structures and constraints on member states. In conclusion, enhancing resilience through regional cooperation is a complex but crucial endeavor in today's rapidly changing world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And now we're going kinetic. It means that kidding. For Mr. Zamfir. Rufin, tell us more about regional resilience. How is our neighborhood impacting us? I'm talking about Moldova, Ukraine, and FIMI. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be among such a distinguished panel and in front of so many military and non-military experts in the room. Your questions it's a really delicate one, as it doesn't have a short answer. I'll try to be as brief as possible and start with the fact that start with the obvious, stating the obvious. Of course, the regional resilience, the resilience of countries in our region have a major and profound impact, not just on Romania's resilience, but at the level of international formats that Romania is part of. And I'm referring here first and foremost to Romania as a NATO member, to Romania as a EU member. But you see, resilience nowadays is not just about being able to maintain borders and maintain security between our borders. Resilience as a multi-actor, multi-layer format is a complex concept that is about societies and states being able to absorb a multitude of shocks, be it military, be it economical ones, information manipulation, as you very well stated, absorbing these shocks while at the same time being able to maintain course towards more democracy, towards more security for our citizens and for our countries. In this sense, Moldova and Ukraine are not just our neighbor countries. To me, what we should refer to this country is more like mirrors to the pressure that not just Romania, of course, but NATO and the EU, and I'm emphasizing on this, mirrors of the pressure that we can be facing in the future. And at the same time, Moldova and Ukraine should be regarded as truly early warning mechanisms for us of the threats that, again, Romania, NATO members, EU members may face in the future. If we are to only discuss here, or at least emphasize in the short minutes that we have in this panel, emphasize on how foreign information manipulation and interference is impacting regional resilience and again multi-format resilience within NATO and EU members. We should start by saying that foreign influence manipulation, information manipulation and interference is not non-war type of tactics, but is totally and definitely new war tactics. It's, as we've saw in Ukraine, in disinformation and information manipulation, subversion at the level of society came together with kinetic measures. So FIMI is not separate means of war, but is included into the toolkit with which our adversaries are projecting power by force in our societies. If we are to only refer a bit to the situation that we're seeing in Moldova and Ukraine as we speak, I think what's important and touching again on FIMI here, so using FIMI as the standpoint from which we're analyzing resilience, I think it's important to mention that what Russia is doing in Moldova is not targeting just Moldova or Moldova's democracy. If we are to analyze the main disinformation narratives in the Republic of Moldova, it's obvious that Russia's interests there are to form or to force an entry gate in the southeastern flank of NATO using Moldova as a platform. The main narratives there are touching on Moldova's neutrality, are touching or proposing to Moldovan society the Western partners of Moldova as being dictatorial, as being, I don't know, nefarious type of actors, while at the same time, these disinformation narratives are presenting NATO and EU as being failed concepts on which Moldova has only to lose from aligning themselves to NATO and EU. In case of Ukraine, it's I'm sure it was previously discussed. It's more obvious what is happening there. It's more in the focus of everybody around the expert community. We've seen foreign information manipulation and interference tactics targeting on sort of two different layers. From one point, targeting an internal audience in trying to impose this fatigue, war fatigue, into Ukrainian society and demoralize Ukrainian society in front of Russia's aggression. The other layer, it's more like an external one, targeting our societies, targeting Western partners to Ukraine in eroding the availability to impose sanction on Russia and to land as much help as possible, as much aid as possible to our partners in Ukraine. I'll try to formulate some sort of optimistic conclusion to this by saying that we can defend our adversary. We can beat Russia somehow with its own tactics. It's building resilience in our societies and, again, partnership formats. It's about intelligence sharing, and we saw this more and more during the war in Ukraine. And I think that at the level of both NATO and EU, it was already well understood that sharing intelligence, not just within these formats, but with our partners in the East, is producing results. At the same time, a very important tool is Stratcom leadership. I think that it's about time to concentrate our efforts into proactive type of measures and stop admiring the problem in the rear view mirror. I'll stop here.
Yeah,
but
thank you
open
very
to
much.
question.
Your conclusion led us towards the next panelist, but thank you very much. So, Professor Dragan, tell us more about Stratcom. How are we handling this aspect at national level in Romania? How can we improve it, and how can we work on it while also keeping in mind the regional layer that I have just mentioned and discussed here? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Because my picture is missing on the screen, you have the opportunity to take live my picture today. Thank you very much. So, hello everyone, Excellency, participants, guests, and survivor of the events after all. I would like to take the advantage to have the privilege to be here today in front of you to talk about sensitive topics about our institutional and security culture. This topics is related to strategic communication and the connection with resilience. From an institutional point of view, at the Ministry of Defense, these topics and these perspectives, strategic communication, is viewed as a process, as a series of responsibilities assumed by few structures coordinated by the working group, which has regular meetings and try to coordinate and have the same perspectives and coherence between words and facts. However, as a professor of humanities and communication studies, I believe we need to move in order to understand an effective strategic communication in our society and better connection with resilience, to go forward to the institutional approach of strategic communication and resilience to whole society approach of this subject. How this can be possible, if you ask me? So, for this, I have for you today two little stories. The first one is actually this event itself. This event itself spoke about the successful meeting in the same table of different perspectives. The military perspectives, the academic one, and the entrepreneurship perspectives on the same topics. This is a great challenge and opportunity to lesson each other, to learning each other about this kind of topics. This future is a pillar for strategic communication. It's a successful story about partnership, relationship development of integration and interoperability. The second story is inspired by nature. I want to talk you about the smallest feline in the world who lives in the deep forest of New Zealand. This little feline, which is a cat, in fact, is so small that every one of you can hold in your hand, imagine. So this little creature finds amazing abilities to survive in such hostile environment. Beyond the physiological future, the main ability of these cats, which is discovered by scientists, is that this creature developed in their mind a 3D map of the environment, who allow the chance to understand the environment in the better way. We are humans discover that we have this ability just in 18th years last century. So this story about the adaptability of the creature on the environment is another pillar of the strategic communication and resilience. In conclusion, to find the connection between nature and human nature, I try to tell you that we have the chance to develop this kind of abilities: partnership, relationship, interoperability, and ability to learn from this kind of creature about the concept of adaptability, to learn more about what we are talking about today here. These kind of topics we can learn about in such symbolic places like this one. Thanks our host. This place is academic temple of intelligence, which is invented by Plato 2.5 millennia ago. So, like our speaker in the yesterday American general, I invite you to go back to the school and learn each other from all kind of this stuff to better understand this concept and to develop more efficient strategic communication and understood better the resilience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dragan. Now for Professor Buzatu, how can Romania cooperate better with NATO and the EU to ensure regional resilience in Central and Eastern Europe? Do you believe that the emergence of Black Sea strategies from EU, NATO, and member states is instrumental to this sense?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me in this august building. General, thank you very much for hosting us and for this kind invitation. Ambassador Fatu, Minister Tojokaru, acknowledge you and recognize you. General Berdila, General, also, Dutu, very nice to see you again. That's a very interesting question that you raised. And since we are right now in this format, a forum of debates, and since it's not Chatham House rules, I'll say a few things, three things that I'd like to share with you from practice. As all of you here, or a good portion of you, you're practitioners. Now, the European Union does not lack strategic leadership, strategic management, and strategic vision. It lacks unity. And in the structures that I worked inside the European Union and NATO, I saw that one thing that is missing is that we struggle ourselves to understand each word and interpret each word that we put on paper. And this takes time, And this takes a lot of effort, a lot of money, and we lose track of the global actors that we're working with, because we're working with them in a form or another. For instance, the Russian Federation has autocratic leadership. Of course it moves and it decides quicker. China has also very interesting leadership, coordinated, centrally controlled, centrally planned. It moves quickly. Brazil also moves quickly. So one thing that we definitely need is to understand that we see the patterns. For instance, we started thinking about a strategy for the Black Sea region in 2005. I was there in the European Parliament working at a working document at the European Parliament on the Black Sea region. And unfortunately, it took us 2 years until Romania became members, and Bulgaria, members of the European Union, to have a synergy of how to approach the Black Sea region. And then we made a report, of course. What are we good at? Making reports. In 2008, after we finished the report, then we said, no, we need to think on a long-term basis. And then we started, basically, from 2009 to 2014, to create more momentum and more information and more coordination to strengthen these pillars of that synergy of the Black Sea region. And then again, we issued a report, of course. Then 2015 to 2018, we went further on inside this issue. And what we did in 2009, I wouldn't even say, because you already know. We issued a report, of course. Until right now, just I think 1 week and a half ago, we have a strategic approach, not a strategy for the Black Sea region, but it's good. Because we saw the patterns, but we didn't move on them, which is very important for us. What does Romania get out of this or can contribute with? Well, we can take the leadership of drafting a strategy for the Black Sea region, because none of the other member states of the European Union has one. And we have the European Commission, which says we have a strategic approach, which is very good. So one thing that I think we need to do, I'm not in the leadership of this country, I'm not going to be in the leadership of this country, but I think that with the advice that I give to some of our leadership of this country, I can share with them, together with some other experts, how they can put this on paper and make it count. And how can we create the financial mechanisms that we can put together, like in a pot, tremendous sums of money, so that we can address those 3 pillars of the strategic approach. 2 things I will take out of this strategic approach, which I think they're very, very important and they're critical for the member states of the European Union and also the NATO nations. Take into consideration that the Russian Federation weaponized energy and food. Now, in April 2015, with a colleague of mine from the United States MOD, he supported me to create a team in order to establish a NATO research task group on strategic awareness of energy security. Now, we put together experts, NATO international staff experts. We put together external experts that came with their analytical and research capacities. We took from the private sector the representatives that knew exactly what energy security implied and how it impacted on them, and we started researching for 5 years. And we put all the details on paper on several levels, and from 2004 until 2019, just before the pandemic. And we created the report, comprehensive report, in which we demonstrated, it was demonstrated but not in this way, that Russia has weaponized energy, and how can we become decoupled, less dependent from the major two hydrocarbons. Now, after we finished the report, I was working with, at that time, I was not working with him, but I was communicating constantly with the 77th Secretary of the Navy of the United States of America. And basically, he supported us in publishing this report and see how can we become less dependent. Now, we couldn't. That was a problem. That we knew how to do it, but we couldn't. You couldn't cut the ties in an instant to 40% of dependency for oil and gas, more or less, from the Russian Federation. So, unfortunately, for Ukraine, the war was extended from 2014, and it was extended to 2022, and then we started cutting ties. What happened in parallel was that with the support of the United States of America, they've provided most of the natural liquefied gas to those European Union member states that were dependent, and we are now less dependent in the percentage of 11%. But, of course, we bought it 5 times higher, the price, than we did from the Russian Federation. But it was a good decision. What happened in 2022, and again, this was a certain point of resilience, because we were prepared, we knew what to do, we had no instruments to do it, so unfortunately we needed a catastrophe, because it was a catastrophe what happened with Ukraine starting 2022. We needed a catastrophe so that we can cut our ties from the Russian Federation from these 2 points of view. The other thing that it's also important is that starting 2022, most of the multinational corporations from the United States, from Canada, and from the Western Europe, member states of the European Union, they left Russia. The US corporation that I was working for at that time, we had 400 people on ground in Moscow, and they all left, like the other colleagues and other corporations. What happened after that? In 1 year's time, the Chinese took all the, nature abhors a vacuum. You've heard of this. The field of activity was virgin again, and the Chinese, in 1 year time, they took over those participations in those companies and or other banks and other industries, which is also very important, because China is not only resilient, it thinks strategically, very long term, and we didn't see this coming. And now we're trying to go back, not we, Romania, but other corporations from the United States of America, from Canada, from Western Europe, they're trying to go back in Russia to, after the war is going to be finished, and start reclaiming their territory. It is going to be almost impossible to do that. The third thing, and finally, which I want to share with you, and is not happened yet, is that in November 2024, an American businessman, billionaire, Miamian, he filed a dossier with the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States of America wanting to bid for the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Stephen P. Covey is his name. And he was waiting for the inauguration of President Trump so that he can start negotiating with with the European Union member states and with Russia after the war would have been finished in how much time? I will not even say it. to start bidding for this Nord Stream 2. It was, to their concern, a once-in-a-generation opportunity for the United States of America. We probably should have thought about this in Europe, in the European Union. We could have mustered the necessary financial capabilities and instruments to bid ourselves. But the file and the bidding is also ongoing. So let's see what happens with this, because this is another thing. You know, all the global actors, they work for supremacy naturally at a global level. What Romania can do, besides this strategy that we can draft, we can also, as the president of Romania said, we can host the Center for Maritime Early Warning in this region, and to muster and to try to put together all the financial instruments so that we can become also a hub for financially creating projects so that we can stabilize the Black Sea region on those three pillars from the strategic approach of the European Commission. And I thank you very much for your time. Sorry if this is my last speech here, and very hot. Thank you very much for having taking the time to hear about that. Thank you.
We will now move on to the questions and answers part, a short one. I do encourage you to ask questions for this honorable panelists. Direct your question to one of the panelists, or else indicate it's a general one. Sir, please.
I've seen a lot of, I've heard a lot of ideas here, and I'm very impressed by your position, but I have some questions. There are a lot of discussion about the Black Sea strategy. So for me, it is very important to understand if we really need a Black Sea strategy, if we, Romania, believe that it's important to have a Black Sea strategy, and for what kind of strategy we believe that has to be, because we know that there is an European strategy for Black Sea. We believe that this strategy for Black Sea has to be the same, if you know. It is important to know if it is better to have a Black Sea strategy as a regional strategy, not as an EU strategy, because I fought to have a maritime, in a European maritime strategy, Black Sea, part of this strategy. For me, it was very important to have a European defense strategy, to have this region part of this strategy. So it's important to understand why we need a Black Sea strategy, what kind of strategy, if it is security, energy, or what kind of another strategy we believe that we need. Because we are now in the process of adopting the new national strategy for defense, for national defense. So, in my opinion, it's important to understand what kind of strategy we need, what kind of maritime strategy we believe that is important to have. Because there are many ideas, and I believe that is not so clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? It's behind.
Good afternoon. If you don't know me, I'm a retired Navy captain, the former Romanian Navy SEAL commander. We know, everybody, that we are in an era when everybody is talking about hybrid action, and the last period revealed us that the democratic society has a lot of weaknesses, and vulnerabilities. And before stepping to the regional resilience, let's go back a little bit to our national resilience. And I'm asking you all, do we have a plan to develop our defense resilience? Have we established if our resistance is violent or non-violent? Do we have a plan to educate young generation and even the entire populace of Romania to enhance our societal resilience? Do we have priorities in building our national resilience? And if we did all of this, what is the institution who is coordinating and integrating this process? And at the end, do we engage special forces to bring their expertise in developing unconventional action, and maybe they can offer us solutions how to counter, react, and even prevent hybrid threats? Thank you very much.
Thank you. He has to answer first.
May I briefly, I know the question is for the panelists, but may I briefly point out a couple of things related to your question, sir, about resilience. First of all, from the center's point of view, we look at this resilience as a concept. We are a non-operational structure, but one of the projects that I presented to you was this resilience committee that we proposed under the Chancellor of the government, so the Prime Minister. And the idea is that we bring together on a semi-formal, not informal, but also not bureaucratic structure, secretaries of state, decision-making level from all the ministries, and we inform them about latest trends and latest concepts of resilience, and they themselves point out the resilience needs of their ministries, from the need to ensure financial supply, financial flows in case of hybrid attacks on the Ministry of Finance, to the, for example, assuring the flow of blood supply or plasma in case of emergency. So this is the first contribution we try to bring toward the silos, sizing, resilience applications for field of expertise. But what we can say is that from our perspective, resilience, approaching resilience has to do a lot with the way we dealt with the environment. So from a mitigation phase where we try to prevent global warming and we try to prevent the degradation of environment, we moved to an adaptation phase. So we moved to the phase where we learn to live with the developments, not necessarily positive in the environment. So the same goes with resilience, societal resilience. And without going into politics, elections in Romania prove that if you have a positive approach, and that is very simply encouraging people to vote as forcefully in a greater numbers, that will give you the most accurate result, besides the sectoral measures you take in combating discrimination, in combating misinformation and manipulation. So looking at things in a positive way. Thank you.
Has this answered your question, sir? Thank you. Anybody else?
Let me add a little bit to
please.
I like the question, but this room, because of Michael the Great, does not have a security classification. I can give you a lot of the answers. You know some part, because you come from the operators. Okay. NATO, EU, US, Romania, the other countries in the region, this is not 2014 anymore. The good, positive news is I have a regional plan. It's confirmed, executable from the SACUR or from the military authority. I have a national plan that is reviewed, interagency level. So in terms of what the military strategy is, goes back to the question of General Danila. of how do we're at the beginning of the cycle of the national defense strategy. How do we approach? Most of the military solutions are pending, are just sitting to determine convergence between what U.S. still has pending in the Congress. Remember, the former administration issued a Black Sea strategy, I think a year and a half ago. Went to the National Security Council, came back to the Congress. Here comes EU with a strategy approach. All we need to do is just bring commonality and convergence to determine not what other strategies do for the Black Sea, is what we do for the Black Sea. Paraphrase, you heard the, Kennedy quote. So in that terms, I want means and ways. I want resources, I want capabilities, I want them war-gamed. Oh, by the way, that's why I mentioned, this is a good center, which I think is not only for research, they have the power to do food for act. So this is the time to synchronize. A little bit of, not pessimism, but again, going back to the next 10 years do not look like the last 10. The time and capacity, two factors very important. How fast you can produce capabilities, sustain, FOC, train, man, all the deals. Capacity, what is the industrial base to approach a multi-layered crisis in the Black Sea? Economic, energy, military, it's huge. Just considering the threat factor, the peacetime capacity of the industrial base, this is going to be huge. All I can say. Apologize, Michael the Great. But that's what we have right now. So optimistic. We do have some of the solutions. They're drafted in the military strategy, sitting on the executability of the plans. So this is not just assumptions. We're waiting on that. But thanks for the question.
We have time for another question. Oh, yeah, sorry. Of course, please.
I'll try to answer to General Daniel, to his question first. If we have an inventory of the strategies for the Black Sea, we can see a lot of preoccupation from the United States to have a strategy for the Black Sea. European Union has a strategic approach for the Black Sea. Probably it's good for Romania to have a strategy, but it's not necessary to be a clear strategy for the Black Sea. It could be a provision in the National Defense Strategy, because we are going to have a new one this year. And beyond the strategy, we have to put in place what General Berdila said, plans, budgets, actions, because we have many other strategies. I can come here with an example for defense industry strategy. We have a strategy. Doesn't matter if it's good or not, but we don't have real plans to have a real defense industry now. And the private sector, it's really concerned, as I saw, about this sector, because European Union comes with a lot of money for developing the sector, but we are lagging behind. We don't do enough for this sector in Romania. But it's not only about defense, it's not about industry, it's about everything. We have to have clear plans, actions, budgets, and to be able to monitor them, to put in place what we want to achieve. Now, going back to the gentleman's question about defense resilience or societal resilience, at the NATO and EU level, there are a lot of initiatives in order to keep under control and to enhance the resilience, the collective resilience. What that means? That means we have to develop all the measures, all the procedure, and to have a level of control of what every member, every country is doing in order to enhance the resilience. At NATO, they say that the powerful resilience, the strong resilience is the weakest element from this chain. And I want to bring to discussion the layered resilience concept from NATO ACT. They want to have a connection between military measures and military resilience and civilian support in order to have continuous operations, continuous military operation. I don't know exactly where that project is at the moment, but I think it's really important to know what the military operations need in order to be carried out from the civilian society. The most important is to have in mind how to apply this whole of government, whole of society approach in order to be resilient. And to have a clear model, we have to look at Ukraine, because the lessons learned from Ukraine are really powerful, and they really are resilient in this warfare. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rufin, please.
Is this working? Yeah, it's working. Well, I was preparing myself to start with answering your question, but I resonate entirely with with my colleagues here in this panel. Anyway, my answer to your question would have been a strong no, since Romania is part of these international mechanisms that are already thinking of a Black Sea strategy, and some of them are really having get to having one. I really don't think that, other than as Mr. Duță mentioned, Romania including in its national strategy mentioning the Black Sea is an important field of building a response to what Russia is trying to do with Black Sea, meaning weaponizing Black Sea against us would be sufficient. But now, getting back to the second question, and probably I will sound a bit like the contrarian in the room, since it was already answered 2 times even. But I will try to somehow use this room and the fact that this forum is taking place in Romania to narrow down a bit the answer to your question. Because, I mean, of course, and it was mentioned, Ambassador Fătu started his intervention with this, that resilience means having more and more people resonating to the same values, including those values into directions and so on and so forth, and this is enhanced by more democratic participation and so on and so forth. But we all know these concepts in this room. And if I'm getting correctly, your question was more palpable things. Are we doing something that will build and then consolidate resilience in our country? And for formulating the answer to your question, I will get back to what I was saying previously, that resilience needs 3 important things to happen. And I'm quoting here. So the first one is real-time intelligence sharing. Real-time intelligence sharing between those institutions and entities, so not just state institutions, but all the actors participating in this beautiful whole of society type of mechanism. Is it happening? I don't know. I'm not part of intelligence community. Let's be optimistic and answer this question with an yes. The second one is joint cognitive defense planning. Do we have this in Romania? As somebody coming from research community, I would answer with no, we don't have it. The third one is STRATCOM leadership, strategic communication leadership, to inoculate the population, our societies, against the hybrid threats that you've mentioned in the preamble of your question. Do we have this in Romania? I think that we're only starting the process of thinking to have one. So in this sense, and again, this is my subjective point of view, and I'm taking the advantage of not being part of any state mechanisms in Romania to formulate this stark, probably negative answer to your question. In my view, we're still at least 2-3 steps behind what we pretend to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, please. That's just behind you, sir.
There's another question.
I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have to answer to this because
You need to, sir. Yes, of course, please.
I was involved in this, and I can say you that we are not in the same position as Ukraine was, and Georgia and Moldova. Romania is a NATO member, and I want to assure you, even that there are some concerns of the academics, doesn't matter where, but here in this room, I don't have this problem, this question. Romania has a national strategic plan, national defense strategic plan, very well done and very strong. With our national capacity to defend ourselves and with the support of NATO, the reason of my question was if we want a strategy for what? It was important to know it is a strategy for Black Sea. I don't can understand to have a strategy for a sea, for the water, for the fishes, for what?
We're on the same page.
So, I believe that you told that we have 2-3 steps behind. Not, we are ready. Our defense plan is done. It is upgradable, okay, but we are NATO member. We have a strategic defense plan, but in the same time, we have a NATO defense plan for this region. So what kind of strategy we believe that is necessary for Black Sea? Because we still have not a contingency plan. It was a contingency plan, but now it is a strategic defense plan for this region. It is important to understand the reason that for US is important, for us is important to US to have our partner involved in this area, to be sure that they will send troops to be part of this defense plan. But for what we need our strategy for Black Sea?
And I answered you with a no.
We need probably in our defense national strategy for security strategies or defense strategy, we need some objectives related with our status of maritime state, because we are maritime. So we have to establish our objectives. What we need, what aim of ambition we have here, what level of ambition of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have time for only one question, please. Sir. Yes. 25 minutes, seconds. Go. Yeah.
It doesn't work. Does it work? Yes. Okay, so I'll take 25 minutes. Thank you very much. You're very kind. Well, General, I understand perfectly what you're saying, but we are part of mechanisms at regional level and other continental and global levels. And what General Berdila said a little bit earlier, the 118th Congress of the United States of America passed a bill in 2023 on the strategy for Black Sea region, not Black Sea, not the sea exactly, but all the countries that border the Black Sea, and specifically We have a strategic competitive advantage here that Romania and Bulgaria, they are members of the European Union, members of NATO, and also border the Black Sea. And in 2023, the United States specifically identified the threat of Russian interference. Also, yes, also NATO had identified that previously, and we're working on that concept also. Of course, the European Union, they didn't identify the threat directly, but they identified the possibility of becoming a threat. That's why we started discussing it in 2005, and up to now we have a strategic approach to it. Why Romania? Because some of the other member states of the European Union will take the lead. I want Romania to take the lead like Poland took the lead on Rearm Europe. That is why. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir, please. No, it's not working.
I guess it's working now?
Good.
Yes, thank you. I had a bit of a rhetorical question. My name is Cristian Vlad. I'm a strategy and transformation colleague of Mr. Adrian Duț at KPMG.
Okay.
My question slash point of discussion was, by listening to the conversations yesterday and today about threat identification, about resilience, about defense strategy, and so on, is there any thinking, is there any vision about how we can best prepare for the future by collaborating with resilience opportunities, best examples, but also with defense partners from beyond the EU region and the US? Thank you very much.
Are you directing your question towards somebody, the panel, or general speaking? General. Okay.
Well, I'll take that to be short. So I got 23 minutes from you. Okay. Yes, we do. Like I said, we're more adult than this. Russia is not over us to some of the, like I said, 2012, 2014. We learned so much from Ukraine. Oh, by the way, it's not only Ukraine. And it's not only Russia, so this is comprehensive. One, two. Some of the problems. We need to adjust, let's say, the legal framework for acquisition. I'm moving too slow. I'm putting major acquisition programs, fielding, integrating FOC too slow. That's what I need to do. One. Two, I need the national security crisis management apparatus, the bureaucracy, to adapt to multi-crisis, not to sequential crisis. The old model was, okay, peacetime, crisis, war. No, you may have 3 crises at the same time, plus 2 contingencies, and 1 earthquake. And this is why EARC is pretty much mature in doing multiple crises. So there is a vision. I got the means, I got some of the ways in the military. I'm just standing by. All you need to do, the apparatus, the national, call for fire. That's what I need. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Anyone?
I would like to intervene only to say that at NATO level, they put a lot of importance to work together with the partners. I mean, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. And this is a very good initiative, because we have to put in practice here in this region what they know better, because every country from this mention are champion on one or other issues, like South Korea in combating pandemics a few years ago. But you can see also here in Romania, we started to have a different approach, and South Korea is a partner from the defense procurement and for our modernization of our armed forces. And I think this is the way to take the best practices from everywhere and to have a better cooperation at the regional level and not only.
Can I just add something? Now, from the point of view of somebody working in Moldova with state institutions in Moldova for more than 2 years now, I can definitely answer that we have a lot to learn from our partners at the eastern border of both EU and NATO. There are a lot of lessons to be transferred. There's a lot of knowledge already to be transferred in not just member states, but again at the level of the suprastatal type of institutions, which NATO and EU are. I think that a lot of this transfer is already taking place. I know the case of Moldova. Moldovan authorities are in a permanent contact both bilaterally with Romania and other states in the EU/NATO, but also in a bilateral exchange with EU and NATO. As a parenthesis, of course, they need to be in this exchange of intelligence, because not just because Moldova is preparing itself to become a EU member, but Moldova is relying on support coming from NATO states. So the answer would be yes, and this transfer of expertise, this help architectures are already taking place. I think that it's about time for us, the EU and NATO or /NATO members, to look down on our partners, to refer to our partners just for as export markets of our knowledge, of our intelligence, but look to them as real partners and try to import ourselves as much knowledge they've accumulated so far. Even more so that we have, just give you again the example of Republic of Moldova, a country that is in the front row of Russia's aggression. And a lot of things that we've seen in Romania during the latest or the last electoral exercises here, Moldova already experienced a number of years ago. So I hope this answers your question.
Thank you very much. Please join me to a round of applause for all the speakers.
Colonel, thank you very much for the panelists. Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. So I was very close to miss the moment for the closing remarks, but I remember, I don't know if you have been observed that I have a level more than the others. It's written forum. This reminds me I should open and also close the forum. So, thank you very much to be here, being survivors, as was mentioned here, of these two wonderful days, actually. I was really deeply honored to be the chairman of this Seesof 2025. Actually, I hope it's just the first edition of Seesof events from now. First of all, I want to recognize it will take 1 hour, my closing remarks, don't worry. It's not too much. I want to recognize the impressive audience during these 2 days. As you saw, we had 5 panels, diverse themes, all of them related with our way of thinking about the Special Operation Forces mission and operations, a comprehensive approach. We had 6 keynote speakers, amazing experience in different domains. We had 30 panelists with a very impressive from different domains, military, civilian institutions, and not only, of course, industry, with amazing experiences and education. We had, during the, I don't know if you noted, but we make the statistics. We had 13 delegations, yeah, foreign delegation in terms of special operations forces, from 5, which represent 5 cooperation format in terms of special operation forces. We also had 143 exhibitors from 20 countries. So we have amazing Q&A. Even I believe that it was not enough palinka and red wine to clarify everything, so maybe next time we'll make 2 events in order to be more clear with this. What we realized also, at least from my perspective as chairman of the conference, I hope you will agree, we realized the importance of situational awareness that we, about the complex situation, security situation that it is not only in the region but around the world. So we need this one in order to tailor the best answer to all the challenges that are in front of us in terms of security. We also realize the importance of special operation forces in the equation of the balance of the security in the region. Also, I realized the importance of industry, so I was very glad to see their interest, their attention for the domain. I saw their contribution to the panels. And I saw their decision to answer to our needs in terms of building the future capabilities in terms of special operation forces. I realized that the word communication is much more important than I believed before, because I heard about this term in almost all the panels. So I think we should take it into account. I heard about the common procedures, a need for it. I heard about the common language. I heard about the common protocols that we need for whatever we are thinking in terms of security. And other words important, I think, are cooperation, collaboration, and so on. I realized that operational medicine, it's mandatory for the resilience of our SOF and not only. Also, I realized that the system should be tailored in accordance to the field of operation. And we heard yesterday on the operation medicine panel that the mobility is a key word for operational medicine capability. We also realized that women in command and women in combat it is a reality, so they are here, so don't forget them. They are shoulder to shoulder with us. They are really fighters for their careers and, of course, I think for their lives, just because, or at least from one perspective, women are mothers, so we don't know as men how it is to be a mother, for sure. They know better than us. And I was very, not surprised, but happy to see that all of the women that we have today in the panel said, I am very proud to serve my country. That's very important, at least from my perspective. What we also realized that the resilience concept, it's addressed to, not only to the military, it's addressed to civilian society, to industry, which means it's addressed to society. So It's addressed to the business, to anybody who is part of the society. And I realized after the discussions in the panel that the resilience is one of the key factors, but not only in the war or crisis. This is something that probably most of us know. But I realized that the resilience is a key factor in peacetime also. The last thing that I realized that the social part of such an event is very important. So I hope for the next editions you'll keep the habit to do something in this respect. We had at the beginning some desired outputs. One of them was to get interesting ideas in front of you, interesting ideas, facts, thoughts, and ways ahead. The second one, it was to open or to develop your appetite for deep thinking, for a more complete approaching of the fields or domain that you are representing. And the third one was to inform you or to make you finding more information about the special operation forces and their role, not only in the Romanian armed forces, but also in the Târgu Mureș community. So, with the hope that probably we realized to get to the desired outputs from the beginning, the organizers will get to that conclusion that we mentioned at the beginning in the opening remarks, that you need to do it again, and I hope you will invite us again also. If you think that all these days deserve, I will please join me to offer a round of applause to all those who were part of the conference, not only as panelists, but even as attendees. So let us declare the Seesof 2025 officially closed, this part of. So remembering that you still have time to visit the stands, the exhibitors, because they will close at 15:00. Thank you very much.